Nick Fuentes calls himself a Christian. He says that he wants a Christian nation, and he even claims that he's the reason that Christ is King went viral.
This is God's country. This is Jesus's country.
We want God back in society.
Okay, but that's not the deeper reason why he's become one of the most influential figures among millions of young men, despite being banned on most platforms. The reason why is because he's tapped into what makes them angry, turning their legitimate concerns into purpose. And that's also why so many see him as not just powerful, but dangerously powerful. And this is where this story gets dark. So in this video, we're gonna look at why so many young men resonate with what he says, and why it will inevitably make their lives far worse, not better.
I'm a monster. There's a million monsters then, because they love my show and they're pissed off and they'll follow me into battles.
Those who are trying to dissuade others from Fuentes point to the controversial things that he says.
Hitler was awesome. Hitler was right.
And so women exist basically, in my opinion, on a lower plane. You know, you would never say that a dog is like dumber than a person. You would say that like a dog could never conceive of language. Like the same thing with women. Women don't have the same category of mind as a man.
Only to find themselves surprised when they realize that his fans aren't bothered by it. In fact, for them, him saying those things only makes him more credible. Rather than bigotry, what they hear is courage.
I told my parents, I'm like, Mom, Dad, the Holocaust didn't happen.
But there's a reason he's become one of the most influential voices among Gen Z men, which makes a lot more sense when you consider the world that they grew up in. Older generations found their value in the American dream. Get a job, take care of a family, and be proud to be an American. That story gave them both value and stability. But for Gen Z, that story doesn't exist anymore. The median age for Gen Z is only 20 years old, with the preceding 5 years being the years that you start to discover who you are and what you're doing with your life. And for them, those 5 years started in 2020, with years of lockdowns, riots, outrage, and political chaos. These were arguably the most chaotic years in recent memory, leaving Gen Z's coming-of-age years to feel like the end of the world. On top of that, they also grew up in what some call the woke era, when every movement seemed to be about giving a voice to someone who's been silenced. LGBTQ parades told sexual minorities, you matter. The BLM protests told Black Americans, you matter. The Me Too movement told women, you matter. And some of that was good. Those messages felt overdue for millions of people. But as that story took over, it created a new story. One where young straight white men felt like they were cast as the villains who were creating these victims. The message that they received was that value comes from being a victim, and that they were the only group left that couldn't be one. So when they try to speak out against what they perceived as the injustice in these movements, they risk being confirmed as oppressors and could be canceled.
The goal of cancel culture is to make decent Americans live in fear of being fired, expelled, shamed, humiliated, and driven from society as we know it.
So they stopped talking, and the frustration started to build up. And in all of this, the instability, the chaos, the silence about where they fit in, it left a lot of young men feeling ashamed, unneeded, unwanted, and unseen. Okay, so now think about what that does to the idea of the American dream for them. Financial uncertainty made work feel hopeless. Me Too made relationships feel too risky. And if the only political eras that you knew were the Trump and Biden eras, then having faith in our government seemed obviously absurd. So when everything felt unstable and out of reach and the anger continued to build, that's where Nick Fuentes stepped in. Not as the cause of the crisis, but as one of its most dangerous symptoms. Fuentes was able to give them meaning through rebellion, a way to turn isolation into belonging and shame into strength.
I'm an incel. I am a proud incel. And when I'm good and ready, I'll get married. I'll still be an incel, though.
Incel is a term for someone who's involuntarily celibate. So when he says that he's a proud incel, it tells his audience that they don't have to feel shame for not being able to attract a partner either. In fact, they can be proud of it. He also gave them a way to turn their shame into purpose and strength.
Well, it kind of doesn't matter if you're multiplying out in the periphery, but people don't want to hear that because they want to feel like, they want what they want to be the thing that is honorable. And it's like, I don't think we really need to be giving any awards out because you married a woman and had kids. We need to go at the center, and that requires real dedication, real sacrifice that, yes, might involve actually not having kids. Is sacrificing a family life different than dying in a war for a political outcome? I don't think so.
And he becomes even more attractive to his audience since he refuses to grant value to the people that the woke era elevated. He essentially tells his followers, you've apologized long enough. You don't need to feel guilty for being white, male, or Christian. And for men being tired of being blamed, it felt freeing.
We have reached, by the way, the pinnacle of fake outrage. And she wants to call me out? That's what she texted me. She goes, I'm calling you out. And my response to that is, you have no right to call me out. And maybe it's time for you as a woman to sit down and shut the up. That's me, a man. This is me, a man, telling you, a woman, to sit down and shut the up before you call out anybody else. Sit down and shut the up. I'm so sick of it. White people are every single bit justified in being racist.
Okay, now here's where it gets interesting. Instead of directing his frustration towards the chaos itself, he gives them targets like Jews, women, immigrants, progressives, and even the government.
You have alienated us. You have ignored us. You don't listen to our concerns. We have been left behind.
He tells them that these groups stole their country, their families, and their futures, which ended up giving his fans purpose in having opposition. Eventually, he ended up giving them belonging that could be built on shared blame and resentment.
Why is anyone married?
I mean, honestly, it's the women.
It is Israel. It is the Israeli government, and on some level, it is the Israeli people.
Okay, now remember how I said earlier how the younger generations often see his most controversial statements as courageous rather than bigoted? Well, that's one of the strongest parts of his brand. He gives them a new moral high ground: defiance.
All of the realest niggas in history were virulent anti-Semites and racists. George Washington, racist. Abraham Lincoln, racist. Christopher Columbus, racist. Jesus split the veil. His parting gift is that he tore the veil covering the Holy of Holies and shook the earth.
Every banned live stream, every banned account becomes proof of persecution, which gives his fans a sense of being part of it when people blame them for their beliefs and what they say. They refuse to be silenced for saying what they think and for asking provocative questions. Rebellion becomes righteousness. Ultimately, this has led to Fuentes' vision of creating a new America, one that doesn't favor the woke minorities, but recenters on white identity as the true America.
We want the nation to be strong. And yes, by the way, we want the country to be majority white. JD Vance is fat and ugly, but it gets better. JD Vance is fat and ugly and has an Indian wife who is the daughter of immigrants, and his kids are all brown. I want groypers to go to Yale, go to Stanford, go to Harvard, infiltrate the government. We need the smartest young people to get jobs at the Pentagon, at the Department of War, at DHS. Yes, at the CIA. We need young guys like that, a new generation to rise through the ranks in the security state, because personnel is policy. Only if we actually control those levers, only if our guys control those levers, do we actually see change.
Okay, but here is where the mask finally slips off. He gives his followers the vision of taking back the country and punishing the evildoers who messed up this country to begin with.
There is an occult element at the high levels of society, and specifically among the Jews. So many of the people that are perpetrating the lies and the destruction on the country, they are evildoers. They are people that worship false gods. They are people that practice magic or rituals or whatever. And more than anything, those people need to be, when we take power, they need to be given the death penalty, straight up.
Ultimately, he offers them a tribe that promises identity, purpose, and stability. And together, that tribe is called the Groypers, which is an army of young men who can finally feel like they belong. He doesn't actually give them any of those things. They just don't realize it yet. And ultimately, his advice will only keep them from getting what they truly want. There's just too many critical problems. But before we get into that, we have to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Aura. Now, if you've ever wondered how scammers get your phone number or why your inbox is always flooded with spam, well, this is why. There's these companies called data brokers that sell your data, and they do it without your consent, and they make billions of dollars selling your information to marketers, scammers, or even stalkers. And while they're legally required to remove your information if you ask, they make the process confusing and hard on purpose, and that's why I'm thankful for Aura, because Aura takes care of the hard part, automatically removing your information from those sites and keeping it off. They also monitor the dark web for your phone number, your email address, and your social security number, and they'll quickly let you know if someone is trying to use your information to open up an account. And even better, if something ever does happen, they'll cover you with up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. The app comes with a bunch of other safety features as well, so you can go to aura.com/whatdoyoumeme and try 14 days for free. And that'll be enough time for Aura to find out if any of your personal data is exposed, so that way you can learn about it before one of these companies are forced to notify you. So go to aura.com/whatdoyoumeme or click the link below to try 2 weeks for free. All right? Now, let's get back to how Fuentes' worldview will make the next generation far more miserable. The real tragedy in all of this is that Fuentes is leading his fans to become the very thing that they despise. He mocks the woke for finding their value in victimhood, but he's doing the same thing. He's just calling it courage.
The people that are righteous will be persecuted, they'll be attacked for their sins, rumors will be made up, things they didn't do will be invented, and they'll be condemned for it. So that's just how it goes.
Every ban, every insult, every backlash becomes proof that they're the real oppressed. But this is the same thing that Hume and his followers hated about progressives. Just as they complained about the woke, Fuentes and his friends have become entitled, feeling justified in their outrage, and are constantly complaining that the world doesn't recognize their value. The same way that the progressives felt ignored and left behind and blamed others, Fuentes is leading his fans to doing the exact same thing.
What about Native Americans? What about Americans? What about young white men?
He doesn't only blame the establishment for their issues, he also blames others like minorities and women, the same groups that he felt were blaming him. But this doesn't solve anything. It doesn't help their issue with feeling like an outcast rejected by society, and it definitely won't help them get a date. What started as truth-telling turned into self-fulfilling prophecy, with rejection becoming their new identity, and blame as their way to feel justified in their situation.
Why is anyone married?
I mean, honestly, it's the women.
Unfortunately, they'll only end up more isolated due to their racial dispensations. Their beliefs and attitudes towards women only repel them, making the chances of having a family far worse than if they didn't adapt his mindset at all. So just as his fans felt like they were being blamed for the world's problems, he's doing the same thing, but only blaming them and everyone else.
It is Israel. It's the women. We're being accosted by black people.
Okay, but here's the thing. When you get your personal value from feeling like a victim, you need people to hate you in order to continue feeling valuable, which also gives you something to fight for. So if the Groypers never achieved their white nationalist dream, they'll still end up right where they started, only older, more bitter, and exhausted from building something that was never gonna work in the first place. And even if they are able to somehow build it, a white nationalist nation won't last. It'll inevitably lead to a massive blowback in the opposite direction, leading to an even more massive woke era than ever before. Either way, whether they fail or succeed, their lives will only get worse all around. Now, let's think about this another way. Fuentes often cites Christianity as being essential to his movement, but it lacks the message at the core of Christianity, which could be the solution to all of these issues. At its core, Christianity is about the creator of the universe who put aside his power and died for the things that we freely chose to do wrong, so that way we could have harmony and an eternal relationship with him and others. Ultimately, we see unity with not only those that are like us, but also with those who are entirely different. In fact, in him, there is no racial or gender separation, since we're all one in him. But even more, if you really believe the message of the gospel, then it already provides some solutions to the practical problems that his followers want answers to. Because Fuentes is right about one thing. Men are desperate to feel valuable again. They want to matter, they want stability, and they want something to believe in. The problem isn't the desire, it's where they're looking for it. Every ideology, whether it's the woke left, the woke right, or any other, they give you a sense of value that can easily come from looking down and belittling others, blaming others, and what you do. But the gospel says the opposite, that you already matter. You don't have to earn value by being a victim or a victor. Jesus loved you enough to die for you before you ever proved a single thing. And that's the kind of value that no movement and no backlash could ever take away. And once that sinks in, you can't look down on anyone else that feels strong, because the cross reminds you that you're just as much of the problem as they are. And that grace doesn't make you weak, it's actually the only thing that will make you whole. It frees you from hate, it gives you peace, and it makes you capable of building what you actually want: a stable life, a family, and true love that lasts. Ultimately, the gospel gives you what Fuentes offers: value, purpose, and belonging, but without the hate that destroys it. So rather than becoming what you hate, become a man who's truly secure, who isn't desperate to justify his value to others, since he's already valued by the one who knows his deepest flaws and loves him anyway. Okay, we do this because people ultimately choose to follow people like Fuentes, since it helps to give them some sort of clarity about what's going on in the world and offers them some hope. So what we do here is not only provide clarity, but also show people that the gospel is a far better system to place your hope in. So if that's something you want to support, then you can help us continue our mission by clicking the link down below in the description and become a monthly partner with us, which makes way more of a difference than you would think. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.